the the actual mandatory minicamp. They canceled the last OTAs. They moved up the mandatory minicamp from middle of June to this week. You can question the wisdom of it all you want. To me, it's if you really look closely at what the commitment is for the coaches, they are grinding 100-hour weeks from July on. And when I say July, that's training camp. August is preseason. September is the season. October is the season. November is the season. December is the season. Then, if you're good enough, like the Niners have been, 3 of the last 4 years, the Niners have been in the NFC Championship game. That means January is the season. And if you can go to the Super Bowl, you're not getting out of there until middle of February. Oh, then it's time to vacation? No. At that point, then you do a rehash of the season, grade out your team, game plan for your off season. Then there's the combine. Then there's the workouts leading into the draft, and that's a labor intensive deal, and the assistant coaches are a part of that as well. Then you have the draft, then you have the rookie minicamp, then you have the OTAs. These guys literally go from July through this week. And then when they're done with this week, because they canceled the one OTAs, they'll now have an extra week off. But I mean, we're talking about, 3 weeks, basically, maybe 4, the final 3 weeks of June, and maybe the first week of July. Once you get to the 4th of July, man, it is game on and back to 100-hour weeks. I mean, be careful what you wish for. You want to be a coach in the NFL, you're signing up for a massive commitment. And I think it's smart for Shanahan to cancel the OTAs. And people would say, well, they've had injuries and this and that and whatever. I mean, if you really want to get the most out of your coaches, you got to give them some time to spend with their wives and girlfriends and children, and you got to give them some family time at least 1 month of the year. And this is their month, the second week of June through the second week of July. That's family time for coaches, and they deserve it. They deserve every minute they get.
No, absolutely. These players, the coaches, because it's a long grind. One thing I took away, I was watching the Brandon Ayuk press conference last week, and they asked him, "How's your off season been?" I can't remember who asked him, but he goes, "Good, but not long enough." Like, I was like, "Dang, that hit me." I was like, "Yeah, these guys are probably just tired, because it's not like they're just sitting there vacationing and spending all their money. They're working hard. They're training, they're getting themselves right. Guys like Drake Jackson been in, the lab all off season, working, making sure his body's right. So these guys are working, and you're right. These guys have maybe a month, and then it's a 24/7 nonstop. Watch film, get game plan ready. Think about the next opponent. If you're a player, you got to be, rehabbing from the last week. Like George Kittle says, it's like a car accident every week he plays on Sunday. So yeah, it's a tough grind. Obviously they get paid good amount, but it's what they signed up. But it's a grind, and you get 1 month really of just uninterrupted, work for a while. But they deserve it. And after that, you hit the ground running. So I don't mind them canceling a week of OTAs. They did it last year, and it seemed to be pretty good. They made it to the NFC Championship game. So I think Shanahan knows what he's doing in terms of coaching this team. I think he's figured out what works, what philosophy works. Because when he first started, I think he was a little bit, very aggressive, very tough. But I think he realized what kind of works for this team in terms of training them, because it is a tough season. Now they have an extra game every year, and your body goes through so much. So I think that extra week in the long run, I think it pays off.
Yeah. More than anything too. I mean, if you say, talk about the Walsh Niners of the 80s, they always had their stars available come playoff time. And it is really a war of attrition. And so if you can take away some of the physicality that is in the offseason, maybe some of the physicality that exists in training camp, if you can slow play the veterans, give them additional rest, it's all, I mean, yeah, you'd like to start fast, but we're talking about a 17-game schedule over 18 weeks. You're not playing playoff games until December, and yet you're playing meaningful football games in September. So there's a huge amount of time in there, and I'd rather do what the Rams do and don't play your guys in the preseason. Slow play the whole season. Don't worry about a little bit of rustiness in week 1 or week 2. If you give away a game in the first 3 weeks of the year because of it, so be it. I want to make sure that my guys are on the field and my money is out there on the field in January and December and January. And that's when you win a Super Bowl. You can't win a Super Bowl in July. You can lose one in July, but if you lose all your players, but you can't win one. So